Hello to our newest graduates, family members, faculty, and other assorted dignitaries. My thanks to Dean Otino and the McCormick School of Engineering for inviting me to speak to you today. I'm a big fan of Dean Otino's whole brain engineering concept. I'm impressed with the concrete ways in which it demonstrates that our technology is not a thing unto itself, but an essential and integral part of our daily lives. Those of you trained in these concepts will avoid many of the pitfalls of those who preceded you in these professions. That's why I'm excited to be here today. My career is something of an independent verification of the whole brain engineering philosophy. I'm a little jealous that I had to learn these lessons the hard way by running into walls and such. But I think my story might help underline how real and valuable these concepts are for you. 34 years ago, I received my master's in industrial engineering right here. And way back in 1983, studying computer science meant you were headed for a job at Bell Labs or a Big 8 accounting firm or the Department of Defense. People who owned personal computers were hobbyists, and even scientists considered computers mere tools to do their science with. I was in the end up at Bell Labs territory, so even after getting my master's, I stayed on for a while, hoping to get a PhD so that I could at least get an interview there. But in 1984, Apple introduced the Macintosh to the world. Northwestern was one of the places where students could buy a Mac 6 weeks ahead of the rest of the world. I bought one, and I was thrilled that I didn't have to fight for time on the campus mainframe to continue working on my thesis. I also bought a C compiler from a local developer, and he offered me a tech support job based on the 3-page bug letter I sent him. As I saw the eager acceptance of the home computer among the general public, I realized, wait a minute, computers aren't just for nerds. They're for everybody. And my career had just materialized in front of me. You know, I was already trained. I was excited to get started. Bye, PhD. You see, what drew me to software development is that it actually does require the left and right brain to work together. The software engineer is the interpreter between the computer and the human being. And a successful software engineer can partition his project into the parts meant for the computer, and you left brain those into something efficient, and the human, and you right brain those into something that's intuitive and productive and easy to understand. I'd also started hanging out with the local Mac developer community. See, most of them were figuring out ways to start a company, take a nebulous big idea, and make it a success. I also succumbed to the lure of the startup, and I'd do that 7 times over the first half of my career. I didn't have any high ideals at first. I mostly liked the idea of just working with 1 or 2 other people and not really having a boss. But I came to value the startup as my best chance of contributing something unique to the world. It turns out one of the riskiest parts of being a young entrepreneur is that you don't know what the world needs or what it's willing to pay for until you've been out in the world for a while. Our group of aspiring developers had all recently inhabited a world where computers were for the hobbyist. So in a way, we were kind of like the young, struggling fiction writer who's given the sage advice to write what you know and then starts churning out stories about the struggles of young fiction writers. And my first few startup ventures were along those lines too. They involved compiler tools or hardware boosts or weird packages of esoteric coding strategies. They never became successful businesses because we never realized that our potential market really only consisted of each other. But at least we were learning how to identify and craft a solution. Occasionally, I'd have to take a regular job because, you know, bills need to be paid. One of those was at Arthur Andersen, where I confirmed that I really didn't like the corporate environment. But the next one was a small team developing a custom stock and option trading platform for a local firm. This was my first real success. At this gig, I had carte blanche to design an informative and intuitive project. You know, once again, using the left brain to manage high-speed updates from a stock ticker, and using the right brain to tame state-of-the-art graphics and help to make helpful visualizations of the ever-changing data. We're also able to we're fortunate to be able to get direct feedback from our clients. And they were experienced traders and their own special brand of nerd. The result was a product that was useful for them, which made it successful for us. Now, on the flip side, if you'd asked me at that time what my most important skill was, I would have had to say the ability to explain what I do to the people who pay me. A lot of my peers at this time didn't understand this, both in startups and in regular business, and they would be shocked when their backers or their bosses would cancel their projects because they didn't have faith, and I don't really believe you're going to give me the thing I think I'm paying for. The ability to translate tech speak into business speak was invaluable in sustaining interest in my projects. This project got bought out by a trading firm in San Francisco, and I got to move with it. All of a sudden, I was a new startup, TriStar Market Data. You know, even in 1990, we felt like all the good names were already taken. But we had a finished product and a defined marketplace. And I got to move to California. I thought I was set. I thought this was I would finally hit the big time. And we did have a good run of 4 years. But unfortunately, we were eventually bought out by a competitor who were tired of having us as a competitor so they could kill us. Now, it would have been easy to get depressed about that. But once you're an entrepreneur, you realize that actual success depends on so many things that you don't control. The shape of the marketplace, where you can find funding, can you get people to notice you? Can you not face plant when people do notice you? The most you can ever do in life is be prepared for success. And if you do that often enough, you'll succeed when everything else lines up in your favor. Now that I was ensconced in Silicon Valley, I had another run of short-lived startups. I was learning to prepare for success, but it didn't meet us for different reasons. Too early to market, too late to market, missing funding deadlines, and so on. But I got experience in a wider range of industries requiring high-powered computing, including printing technologies. At each job, I was amazed at how the perspectives from a previous job would apply to the current program, even though the two industries weren't obviously related. It's another thing I learned about startups, too. You should be aware of what you can and can't bring to the table. A successful startup needs someone with a vision, someone who can realize that vision, someone who understands money, someone who understands law, someone who knows how to sell what you've made, and someone who can keep your customers happy once they bought what you're making. Now, I have met no one in my life who can do more than 3 of those things at the same time. And don't buy the auteur theory. You should know what you can and can't bring to the table, and you should try to find people who complement what you do. And that will be the beginning of making a team that can bring a business into the world. Now, by 1998, I'd been a professional software engineer for 13 years, 6 startups, a diverse resume. I learned that I wasn't very good at figuring out what we should do. But my main skill was figuring out how to get it done. Fortunately, I was contacted by a former coworker at TriStar who had a great idea for a new startup. Let's take the coupons that fall out of your Sunday newspaper and put them on the internet. And as it turns out, since I'd had experience in high-speed computing, in printing, and in commercial products, I had the perfect resume for this job. I joined him as a co-founder and started work the next day. Building the company that launched Coupons.com, later renamed to Quotient, drew on everything I'd learned to that point, figuring out the best ways to interact with our customers, understanding that our clients couldn't embrace our immediate vision, and figuring out intermediate products to do so that we could both educate our audience and educate our backers into what the world was going to be when we got there. Using my knowledge of printing technologies to deliver a robust and usable coupon for the customer. Helping to design back-end systems that wouldn't crash on the day that we got big publicity. And 3 years ago, we fulfilled our investors' faith in us and went public. We still have daily challenges, but I feel a great deal of pride in helping to build a company that is well-known and respected by our customers and our clients. I also finally got to build that unique thing, something that helps everyday people save money on everyday needs. The paths you're about to follow, I'm sure, will be just as exciting as mine, and they'll have rewarding successes and informative failures. But you're going to start out with a sharper set of tools than I did. Your degrees are a passport to any part of society. Technology is no longer an isolated endeavor, but one that is essential to our daily lives. We are an inseparable part of business, art, government, nonprofit, even academia. That's the coolest part about what we do. We thank the pure scientists who take the unknown and make it known. The applied scientists among us will take the known and make it possible. And the engineers get to take the possible and make it real. Congratulations to our newly minted Masters of Science. I look forward to your many accomplishments. Thank you.